Hi everybody. I'm gonna bring you on a little uphill climb. We'll see how it goes. And as we're hiking, I'm gonna talk about anger. There's two types of anger that I want to talk about. One that is rooted in hatred, okay? And one that is rooted in love. And I'm going to describe first the one rooted in love. It comes from a protective nature. It comes from a nature of a deep recognition of unity and oneness. It comes from a non-dual nature. I mean, ultimately all anger comes from a non-dual nature because that's what non-duality is. It is the absolute encompassment of all things, including all emotions, regardless of their root. However, when anger is registered in the personality, okay, and it comes through the personal structure, meaning the mental dynamics, it can either come from a protective place or it can come from a destructive place. Okay? Anger that is rooted in destruction is anger that is rooted in separation. It comes from a wound. It comes from a deep place of pain and grief at being separate. It comes from the belief of being somehow disconnected from the source of who you are. Typically, I also find that this anger is passed on and internalized through systems and organizations such as relationships or, religious structures. It could be any kind of organization. Some sort of manufactured dynamic where the personal I or the personal self has splintered off for the sake of survival into a powerless position. All right, so that has to do with authority and power. Oftentimes, especially as children, we realize that speaking up, having our own feelings, having our own instincts and reactions is dangerous. We get punished for it, we get yelled at, we receive an unwelcome response to these natural impulses. So we shut them off, and they create these internal dynamics in the psyche that are rooted in suffering and separation. So you can pick up on this if you have a situation in your life where suddenly there's an irrational, spontaneous arising of anger towards some object, be it a person or a circumstance. Now, this is where I want to distinguish the anger that comes from a source of love. So some responses of anger are irrational. A woman with a particular flavor to her shows up, in your space, and you just can't stand her, and she keeps making you angry with everything that she says, everything that she does. There's no rhyme or reason to your response or reaction, but it's there, it's destructive, it's distasteful, and it's just driving you nuts on the personal. Then there's anger that's more reasonable. Let's say that, a great example is all these school shootings. Sex trafficking's big in this area. Animal abuse. It would be kind of dysfunctional, in my opinion, to hear or come into contact with some of these situations and not feel some sense of wanting punishment or wanting justice for a perpetrator. So that anger, that's an anger that comes from love. It's a protective anger. It's an anger that intends to bring unity. And I mean, all anger ultimately is a cry for unity and oneness and a return to our non-dual nature. Okay? But again, I'm just breaking out kind of the different dynamics here, because anger gets a bad rep, gets a real bad rep, and it comes with a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, a lot of blame, a lot of, years of just not speaking to loved ones, irrational decisions and stuff like that. So, So the way to process that rage, that anger, that hatred, that intense reactional response is through understanding the impersonal nature of all of life, all of anger, all circumstances, all organizations, and all dynamics and relationships. The bottom line is who you are, your intrinsic non-dual nature cannot be threatened. It cannot be minimized. It cannot be controlled. It cannot be punished. It cannot be poor. It cannot be victimized. Sorry, when I took you on this climb, I didn't realize the sun was going to be like right behind me. Which could be good. Get some light. So yeah, speaking of light, really ultimately that truth, which is the light, which is this knowing, right, of our inseparable nature, it is the only portal, it is the only path that this anger can go down. And we say so often, that anger is a creative power, that the best way to use it is to do something or take some sort of action with it. But if that action comes from a reactionary personal space and not an impersonal, interconnected nature, we see a lot of issues coming out. We see a lot of pathologies coming out. Anger is a very painful thing. Very painful. But it's a portal. It's a pathway. It's a awakening. So if it's finding you and if you're dealing with it, be grateful. Be grateful about that. Because it's a pathway towards deep, deep balance and inner healing. Extreme freedom. If you still feel like you're suffering and you're stuck in a personal dynamic, walk that path of anger, but walk it in a spiral. Walk it in a spiral, continually returning to its source, which is who you are. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time because I want to drive it home so bad. Your anger is a portal to your awakening. Instead of demonizing it, vilifying it, pretending it's not there, use it as a ball of yarn and walk back with that string to its source. Walk with it in the form of a spiral where your anger is not coming out into projection and into blame and into victimization. Instead, walk it back home. Walk it back to the raw, primal, instinctual feelings. Then go even deeper into that, into the space in which it's arising. Then go into its freedom. then go into its innocence, and then go into its unconditional infinite love. Okay? Hope you're having a great day wherever you are. Mwah. See you soon.